But the interesting thing that I noticed is that I thought, if I had done this exercise 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I don't think I would have gotten as profound of results, because I would have been doing the exercise and thinking, what if it doesn't work, right? If it doesn't work, then that means I didn't do it right, or my consciousness wasn't strong enough, or this works for other people, but it doesn't work for me. And do you see how that energy would sabotage the results? And I've come to a place in my life where I've gotten better and better at just appreciating what is. I would have been joyful if there was 200 in the basket. It didn't matter to me. And it wouldn't matter to me if nothing showed up. I wouldn't have put any meaning to that, because my life is joyful as it is. As we focus in the meditation, what's it like to just be completely and totally grateful for what we have right now? That's the most powerful consciousness for creating what we want. And so I believe I experienced in that exercise that it was the combination of those two things that got the results. Having a clear intention, and at the same time being unattached to how, when, or if it occurred. So this is kind of how it works. When we are in a state of attachment, which then brings all kinds of other energy like worry into the picture, this is kind of what we look like. Hope you like this slide. It took me about an hour or so to create this. So I hope you have gratitude for this slide. So this guy's worried about work, about money, about not having enough time, about relationship, about health, about a war that's going on. And in each one of these, so for each one of these worries or attachments, you can see there's a line, each one of those squiggly lines is some of his energy going into those experiences, right? And so two things are happening then. One is he's actually using his mental power to create those things or hold them in place, what he doesn't want, what he's worried about, the negative experiences. But another thing that we might not always be aware of that's happening is you can see all of his energy is being drained by worrying on these things. So maybe he's not worried about relationship, but he's worried about all these other things, and he wants to create a relationship in his life. How much power, how much energy does he have to create it if all of his energy is going into these worries? Does that make sense? And so the opposite then of this is when we are in a place of non-attachment, a place of peace, a place of gratitude for what already is, then our energy looks kind of like this. Oh no, that's not the slide I meant. That's Andy, isn't it? No, that's not Andy. That's me. That's me a couple years ago. Or maybe a couple years from now. I'm not sure, actually. This is the slide I meant to put. So this is what our energy looks like when we're non-attached. We're at a place of inner peace. What I find is that directly proportionate to our non-attachment is our ability to create what we want. The more we are happy with what we have, the more we recognize and are in gratitude for all the gifts that we have right now, not needing anything more. We can have an intention to create more, but not from a place of need. You see the difference? From a place of want. As I said in the meditation, that anything I add to this experience that I'm having right now is icing on an already perfect cake. Make sense? What has kind of evolved out of this practice for me, and it is a practice because, non-attachment is an ideal. Complete non-attachment is kind of impossible for a human being. So I'm not talking about that. It's a practice. And the less attached we become, then the more powerful we become. And that's kind of what this journey of life is about. And so what's evolved for me then is the phrase, rather than even having to have a really heavy intention, I think, wouldn't it be fun if? So when I was on my tour in Canada in September, I did a number of different events up there. And each time I decided, wouldn't it be fun if there was this many people showed up? So for one event, I thought, They usually get 15 or so people for this kind of event. Wouldn't it be fun if 25 people showed up? And guess how many people showed up? 25. Exactly. I should have said 30, huh? Wouldn't it be fun if 300 people showed up? And, for every single event, it doesn't always work out the exact number. Sometimes it's more, but in that particular time, I did about 5 or 6 different events, and it was always exactly the same number. So, as I said, that manifestation is a byproduct of non-attachment, being in peace. The real gift is the freedom, right? Let's take a deep breath into freedom. In this moment, let's just reaffirm that we don't need anything outside of ourselves, anything that we don't have right now. My God, it is a beautiful life. And if we have something that's troubling us, we know that a month from now, certainly a year from now, maybe even a month from now, most things will be a non-issue, right? So why worry about them now? Yesterday I was playing tennis with my nephew. He's 21 years old. He's pretty fast and pretty strong. I used to be a tennis pro, so and he was on the tennis team, so he's pretty good. But he hits the ball as hard as he can, and I'm a little crafty, right? So, but when I play sports, basketball or tennis, this is my intention, is to be non-attached to the outcome, right? In the first set, I was really in the flow. I was really doing that. I was just completely non-attached and just having fun with it. I find that when I get invested in winning, I never play as well as when I'm just enjoying hitting the ball, just enjoying the whole experience, being in the sunshine, hearing the birds around me. I call it Zen tennis. I beat him 6-0 in the first set, and then the second set, he started playing better, and I started to tighten up a little bit. I started to become attached to winning, or not losing, one of the two. And he ended up getting up 5-1, and then I decided not to attach again. We ended up getting to a tiebreaker, and he beat me, and it was all good. And I could see myself, it's funny, when we're, as ministers, preparing a talk, how everything comes up to experience it so that we can deliver a more authentic message. I also had some challenges this week with some relationship stuff. I said something to someone or I said something and someone didn't take it well, and it really caused me a lot of pain. I learned how attached I am to people not being upset with me. It doesn't happen that often, well, with my wife, but she probably has good reason as well. But it was really hard for me, and it took me some good practice to get to a place of peace again with it, and recognizing that everything happens for me. Everything happens for every one of us all the time, even if we don't know what that something is in the moment. One of the phrases that came to me at one point is that the measure of enlightenment, what if, I like to pose it as a question, what if the measure of enlightenment is the distance between discomfort and acceptance, or discomfort and peace, or discomfort and gratitude? Because we always get there, right? If we're conscious beings. It might take a month, it might take a year, it might take a day, but the shorter the distance, the sooner we go into acceptance and embracing and gratitude, the more enlightened an experience we get to have is, right? And Marianne said it so beautifully in the meditation this morning. She talked about breathing into the pain, breathing in to the frustration, or I forget all the words, because God is in those things too, right? Non-attachment is also likened to non-resistance, right? Being open to whatever experience comes. It was beautiful. So, one of our great teachers on Wednesday Night Alive, who we quote a lot, says it this way. This is Swami Harbula Ananda, says, True True non-attachment is realizing that fundamentally we are attached to everything. We are one. That's the truth. If we're attached to something outside ourselves, that is an affirmation that we're separate. We cannot truly be at peace and separate at the same time. Yes? You like that picture, don't you? So, when we are worried or attached to something that we want or losing something that we have, then we're actually creating a consciousness that is repelling good coming into our lives. When we are embracing, when we are not attached, when we are open, when we're grateful for what we have, when that's our main focus, then the universe cannot help but throw more good on us. There's a metaphor. This came to me once. Have you ever given a gift to someone and they just lit up with the sun, with gratitude? They were just so appreciative of that gift. Maybe you didn't even think about it that much. You thought, oh, this would be nice for that person. You give it to them and they light up by the sun. Isn't it the greatest feeling in the world to be the recipient of that kind of gratitude? Right? Doesn't it make you want to give that person more stuff? Well, guess what? The universe is just like that. It feels the same way, not in an emotional sense, but in an energetic sense, right? The more we say yes, the more we get excited and are grateful for what we have, the more good the universe wants to throw upon us. So let's see, I'll look at my notes. I'm not attached to them, just looking at them. So, I guess I wanted to finish with this little. How many people saw my favorite exotic Marigold hotel? I haven't seen the second one yet. But yeah. Isn't it great? Really, really fun movie. You check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And in it, so it's based upon this this young Indian boy has inherited, or he's running this supposedly exotic hotel, and so they're marketing it to. And it's in India, and they're marketing it to people in the UK, and so they get these brochures of this beautiful place, and then they arrive, and it's like this dilapidated, just broken down place, and they're all complaining and saying, you photoshopped this brochure. This is nothing like the experience here is nothing like it looks like in the brochure. And things are broken down. Everybody's complaining about everything. And so his famous line is, he says kind of over and over, we have a saying in India that everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not yet the end. Right? So, Meister Eckhart said it this way: when I experience love, I must go to God. When I experience non-attachment, God must come to me. We become infused with God, with the natural creative force. That natural co-creative force that's who we are, becomes who we are. We experience that when we are non-attached and in the flow of life. Take a deep breath into the freedom. And this journey of life on this planet in physical form comes to an end for each one of us. I feel that nature has designed it perfectly, because I used to think, if it's all about consciousness, what we create in our lives, then it kind of seems like the older we would get and the stronger our consciousness became, the healthier and stronger our bodies would become. But that's not the way it works, usually, at least in any case I've seen. And the body, the form, ends up dying. We are all on the way to becoming compost, yes? Our bodies are, not us, our spirit. It occurred to me that if there's a divine plan, and if we're consciously creating from a higher level than we can see from our personality, from our expanded self, from our soul self, then it's all been designed perfectly. That what happens as the body begins to slow down, break down, things start to happen, each time I've survived 2 life-threatening illnesses. Each time I have a severe injury or something, it always takes me into a deeper understanding of who I am beyond my physical, a deeper understanding of who I am as a spiritual being. Does that make sense? And so it occurs to me that we are all in a process of giving up our attachment to being in physical form. And if we do this well, then the closer we get to the end, the sweeter that transition will be. And there's always going to be loss about the physical because we're human beings, you know. So after you've heard this this lecture, and you might think that non-attachments is a good thing, don't become attached to being non-attached, right? Because we're in the process. We have to honor ourselves for where we are in this journey, okay? And so we'll be celebrating the life of Kathy Fowler in a little bit. And my wife and I visited her and Steve at the hospital a few days before she passed, and there's so much sadness, you know, sadness for my own loss, for this amazing person who gave so much to this center, who was a huge influence in my life. It's a great loss for this center, and most powerfully, a great loss for Steve Fowler, who, you know, I seeing them together, I know how much love that they shared. And I think I liken it to the love that I have for my wife and that we shared. I just can't imagine how painful that is, right? And at the same time, along with that sadness, I could actually see a beauty in the whole process. She was lying in bed, her body, she was no longer responsive. Her body was completely and totally surrendered to Spirit. She was ready and taking that journey back home. And so we can practice non-attachment and get better and better at that. But even more importantly, as a community, as individuals, when we are separated from that which we're attached to, we can support each other and love each other and be there for each other because we're human beings. It's all in love. I love you. Thank you very much.